The Philadelphia Phillies 2024 season is officially in the books, and we're having to have a hard look at the future of this team. And there's one player in particular that I want to dig into here, that being Trey Turner. We've now had 2 years of the Trey Turner experience, and I'm willing to be the guy that step right up to the camera and say he is not quite the guy that this team paid to get. Yes, Trey Turner is a good baseball player. No, Trea Turner is not the co-star to Bryce Harper that I personally hoped, and I think the money indicated that the Phillies hoped he could be with for the foreseeable future here. So I want to dig into this with Luke Arcaini. There's still 8 years remaining on this contract. It was overall an 11-year deal that was handed out to him. They're not escaping this one. So, Luke, I want to throw it to you first here. Talk me off the ledge here. Give me a little voice of reason with Trea Turner.
Yeah, so my biggest thing with Trey is that I think a lot of people like to compare his contract to Bryce's. And I really don't think you can do that. And here's why. If Bryce Harper got a contract 2 years ago like Trea Turner got, it probably would have been $500 million.
Yeah.
Bryce probably would have got a $500 million contract, and they would have been a $200 million difference. Because realistically, right now, I think that's what they are. If Trea Turner's contract stayed at $300 million, I think Bryce should probably make close to $5 million. That's kind of how it's been. And that's an issue, right? Like that is definitely an issue. The issue with Trey is that I think over the years, I think Trey got a tad bit overrated.
Yep.
I don't think he's some crazy high, insanely overrated baseball player. I don't think that's the case. I still think he's a good baseball player. He definitely struggled. He had a very tough postseason. I don't think that's a shock to anybody. He went 3 for 15 with 0 extra base hits and 5 strikeouts. Just not good. But I think, the issue with Trey is that the defense isn't really there either.
Which is the most surprising thing to me, by the way. That was not something I expected with this contract. Is by reputation, I perceived him as a good shortstop. He's not. He fields his position below average, and I think that's like a whole separate conversation here.
Yeah, it is. Sorry. And the issue with Trey, it's just I don't think that we can really sit here and expect him to be a $300 million player, which is bad because that's what the contract is.
Yeah.
But like it's just a little bit concerning that you give a guy that much money and he starts to sort of look how he did. And I will say he's the only guy in the regular season that came close to hitting 300. He had basically 150 hits this year, like 25 doubles. He was hurt for a little bit. But, I mean, it doesn't take an expert to say that he's not playing up to his contract right now.
Yeah, we saw the one stretch this year, nothing last year, but we saw the one stretch this year right before the All-Star break where it was like, this is the Trea Turner, where he was hitting home runs, hitting for power, hitting it in the gap, fielding well. And I also think with Trey specifically, he's a guy who it feels tied together, that when he's not hitting at the plate, the fielding drops off, that he gets in his own head. It feels like it all compacts on itself, which I don't think is a good trait here. I much prefer guys. Like, I think that was even clearer last year when he really went down the whole mental rabbit hole and the standing ovation, which, by the way, incredibly bad timing for this documentary to be coming out here.
Yeah, let's just cancel that documentary.
Yeah, shout out Philly Captain.
Really,
but
I really don't need to watch that now.
Yeah.
That is like the last thing I need to watch.
No, I'm not looking forward to that either. But as far as the Trey conversation as a whole, I hear you on he got a little overinflated, the perception of who he is as a baseball player. But the reality is he's paid $300 million to be a legitimate, significant part of this Phillies team. And I think it changes things from the standpoint of I think we have to recognize the check might have been cut that his talent can't quite deliver on. Is he a bad baseball player? Absolutely not. But what I do think this means is the Phillies have to find guys to make more of an impact than Trea Turner can, which to me is a huge problem here.
Yeah, no, I mean it's absolutely an issue. And listen, I don't expect them to do this. But I don't think he can play shortstop for the next 9 years.
Flip him and Stott.
I don't think that is their best option. Whether that's flip him and Stott, whether that's crazily like the guy on the screen said, send him to the outfield. Like I just don't think you can have 9 more years of him playing shortstop.
Yeah.
I think their best option, if Bryson Stott returns, is to maybe flip the two, because we know what he can do in the infield, Bryson Stott. I mean, he's an unbelievable defender. He plays second base really well. I think his game would translate really nice over to short. I feel like he gets to a lot of balls, which really I think sometimes is Trey's issue, even with his speed. It feels like there's some balls that really should be fielded that he's just not really getting to.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's they have an interesting situation here. It's like he's not going anywhere. Like
Right.
that's not the solution.
It's
He's
the brutal
going to be here
reality.
for a while.
Yeah.
He's going to be here till what, 2031, 32.
8 more years.
There's a lot of seasons left of Trey, but I think they need to look in the mirror and really figure out the best option for him right now.
Yeah, so we heard from Trey following that postseason loss here, and we have a quote that I did want to pull up that he was asked about kind of keeping this core together, and he said, "quote I would hope as far as that they keep the core together. I think that we got the right guys in here. Teams I've been on in the past have won consistently, have most of their team coming back. I think you've seen that here the last 2 or 3 years. Some guys will come and go and whatnot, but I think we have what it takes here, and we have to find a way to get it done next year." Now, we also got a little bit of kind of a Matt Gelb, I would guess, story empty in the clip as far as some reports that I did want to acknowledge here. So, Luke, I want you to touch on this specifically, but some of the reports that were indicated in this article on The Athletic, this being the spark notes from Philly Nation here, and he starts out saying that the Phillies are going to make changes, perhaps drastic ones, with the core of Bryce, Trey, Wheeler, Schwarber, and Nola staying the same. Continues to say that payroll will not have any restrictions on the offseason. They will be in on the Juan Soto and Juan Soto's sweepstakes. Kevin Long, Harper, Trey, Schwarber, and Howie Kendrick replacement might play a factor, but both the New York teams seem to be the favorites as of now. Also continues on to say that if they miss out on Soto, they will definitely be adding a legit veteran outfield bat. Hayes likely non-tendered, and continues to say that Marsh, Rojas, Bohm, Casti could all be floated in trade discussions. Bohm, it all depends on Miller, who they are extremely high on, but is likely a year away. Casti, very unlikely since he's more valuable to the Phillies than in a trade. Marsh and Rojas, strong candidates to be moved, with Marsh, with in parentheses, Marsh market will be pretty strong. So, Luke, I'll throw this to you. Where do you want to take this, and what stands out to you in here?
Yeah, as far as that article from Gelb, I think it just speaks to that. I think they're gonna go pretty hard again in the offseason.
Yeah,
They're gonna be in on the Juan Soto thing. If it's not Juan Soto, it's gonna be someone else. You could look at an Anthony Santander. You can look at a Teoscar Hernandez, which I begged for last offseason. You can look for a Cody Bellinger. I don't think that's the best option.
yeah,
But it's definitely an option. I don't think Jerkson Profar would leave.
would love him.
I, I think that could also potentially be another option on the table. Everything is going to be on the table this offseason. I don't think Bryce, obviously not going anywhere. I don't think Schwarber goes anywhere. I don't want Schwarber to go anywhere. Nola, like that main core is
Fine.
not going anywhere. But I don't know. They're going to have decisions to make. Some guys in the infield that maybe might not come back. Alec Bohm. I don't think you can run it back with Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas. It's just they have a lot of decisions to make. But what's telling to me, and it's been like that so far with Dave Dombrowski, is he's going to spend the money in the offseason. He's willing to spend the money. But it's just a matter of, at this point, who it is.
Right. And making sure you got the right guy. Now, there's been plenty of talk. Both Turner and Bryce Harper, obviously two guys that started off in the Nationals organization here. But there's a third guy in this picture that I think I reference fairly often here that I think we might want to start getting familiar with in Juan Soto here.
There it is.
Now, my frustration being that I once again think that if Trey Turner was the guy that they paid him to be, we're not even having this type of conversation. But I do think it's very clear that they need to take a big swing, a foundational piece to add to this Phillies lineup, roster, however you want to phrase it here. Immediate thoughts on the Juan Soto sweepstakes, Luke?
No, I'm all in. You can give him
Okay.
$1 billion for all I care. It's not my money. I mean, the dude's an absolute freak. Fun fact, if you plugged Juan Soto into this everyday lineup, he would be the youngest player.
Yeah, 26
That
years
is
old.
absolutely absurd. He's not even 26 yet. Like, he's young. He is an easily top 5 player in baseball. The dude's just an animal. I would give that dude a blank check. It's going to come down to some of the bigger market teams. Like this Yankees team obviously is going to want him back.
Right.
It hurts me so bad to say the New York Mets are really going to be in on Juan Soto.
That would
They're
suck,
really going to
man.
want him. And there's going to be probably 25 other teams that really want Soto. I think the Phillies have some leverage here. They have Harper, they have Trey, they have Schwarber, they have Kevin Long. And that's whether he obviously is back or not Long. But I think the Phillies are a little more in this than people want to think. I wouldn't call them the favorite at all. But I think there is a slight possibility here that they are very much in the mix.
Okay, would love for that to be the case. I do think money talks, and luckily the Phillies are blessed with having an owner that's willing to dig deep in the pockets and win a baseball game. So
Yeah.
again, I will once again push that I wish we did not have to have this conversation, that I wish there was enough talent on roster, and I frankly wish Trey Turner could be a guy pushing the load a little bit more than I think is going to be the case. But I do think we have to face this reality head on that he might not quite be the player that we hoped he was. He's still going to be a solid everyday player, a guy, a key part of this franchise for a long time. But I think my expectations will be adjusted moving forward. So ultimately, we'll see how things shake out from here. Plenty of offseason to break down. Luke, any final thoughts on Trey Turner, Juan Soto, or anything else?
No, I got nothing. Just give Juan Soto a blank check and just let him write whatever he wants on there at this point. That's
Yeah,
where I'm at.
that works for me. So, yeah, John Middleton, hope you're listening. Dave Dombrowski, hope you're listening. And appreciate you guys for listening here. So, appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning into this video. Make sure you smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a like on this video, any comments that you have below. It's going to be a busy offseason for this Phillies team. So, me and Luke are going to be all over it right here on Phillies Digest. So, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And we talk with you next time. Peace.